So in this week's Parsha, there are a lot of mitzvahs. One of them I want to talk about is Maser Sheni, second tithe. In Israel, the first, second, fourth, and fifth years, you had to go once a year and bring 10% of your produce to Jerusalem. You had to consume, you had to eat it in Jerusalem. And the reason the verse brings in our Parsha for this is that you should learn to fear the Lord your God all your days. So it's all about fearing God. And this concept of fearing God sometimes is difficult for moderns, modern people. I know when I first became a little bit more religious, I struggled with it too. I felt at a certain point I was trying to implement the directions and to fear God, and I felt kind of paralyzed at a certain point because I was just like afraid all the time. So I want to just point to two explanations here and just discuss like two types of fear of God, and like share what was like helpful for me. So there are many explanations to how this leads you to fear God. One explanation is that if you send a member of your family every year to Jerusalem, they learn Torah, they'll come back with lots of Torah. They'll go to Jerusalem, they'll eat the produce there, but then they'll be around all the scholars of Jerusalem. They'll learn Torah, they'll learn fear of God, they'll hear admonitions, they'll hear direction. They'll come back home afterwards and they'll strengthen the family. They'll give them, the Sefer Chinuch says, they'll give them admonition, they'll be, admonish them, and through that, they'll come to fear God. So that seems like the simple explanation of fear of God, like going to encourage people to actually fear God due to this whole tithing process. But another explanation that's offered is by the Rashbam and others. He says that you will learn to fear the Lord when you see the place of the Shekhinah and the Kohanim in their service, the Levim at their posts, in Israel in their arrays. You'll come to like have awe and appreciation and like a reverence for God. So really, there's like two different directions to understand fear of God. One is called, in the Mesilat Yesharim's language, Yirat HaOnesh, fear of punishment. That is a service. And that's kind of like what I was talking about when I first started thinking about fear of God. But another direction is the second approach of the Rashbam, which is called, in Mesilat Yesharim's language, Yirat HaRomemut, like reverence, a form of reverence for God or awe of God. And so these are really two different levels of fear. The one of fear of God's punishment or God's rule over you, that can sometimes paralyze the individual if they go with it all the way. On the other hand, reverence or awe for God can be similar to a reverence or awe you have for someone you really respect. It could be a leader or a teacher or somebody you hold in high regard, or your parent who you have reverence for. So this idea of like reverence for God, for me, was helpful, because it pushed me to a level where I felt like I was more involved in the process. Like I had to do work, and not just like huddle in fear of God, but rather do work to really understand who God is and to have reverence for God. And through that, kind of perform the commandments on a deeper level. I want to share two misconceptions about fear of God. One is some think, like I thought originally, that true fear of God is simply fearing punishment. That's not true. We should strive for reverence and awe. And then some people go to the other extreme. It's another misconception. They think we don't have to fear the punishment at all. We have to believe that what the Torah says, that there is a structure, there is a framework for us, and that there is accountability for our behavior. Maybe you don't think about that all the time, but we have to know in the back of our heads that that's true, even when we're aspiring to like reach those higher levels of awe and reverence.